Hello students, welcome again to another session of daily news analysis. Today we are going to take up only a few articles in lieu of holiday. So today's articles are as follows. The first article today we are covering the difference in the data of NCRB, that is National Crime Record Bureau, and a new study that was conducted based out of judicial data. So this is first article. Second article we will look at the core industry, or let's say core sector of Indian industry, and we will see how it is not performing well, and we will see what are those indices which measure this performance. At the end we will discuss the unfortunate and sad earthquake occurred in Myanmar, and we will see how earthquake happens and what are different waves, how do we measure this earthquake. We will look at that. Alright, so we will start with today's discussion. Alright, so the first topic relates to the data released by NCRB, and that shows that certain number of cases were registered for child labor. But for the same crime, one of the organizations took up the e-court data, basically data available on internet from the courts in India, and that data they analyzed and they found out that there were more cases in certain states, and the number of cases more were 8 times. 8 गुना ज़्यादा केसेस रिकॉर्ड किए गए इन कोर्ट्स के रिकॉर्ड्स में, जबकि एनसीआरबी ने डेटा कम बताया था. तो दिस इज़ अ बिग न्यूज़, अ बिग इशू, एंड देयर माइट बी अ क्वेश्चन ऑन इंडियाज़ criminal sector reform, or let's say our justice system reform. In that we have to address the reporting challenges, that crimes in India are underreported because of social reasons, because of maybe calculative reasons. So statistically we do not have the right data. Why? We will discuss why NCRB is showing less data. It's not that they are trying to hide some data, but because of their methods the data is not coming up. So this is the news, and you should remember this for your GS paper 2. The question might appear and you have to substantiate your point using this fact. This can also be acting as an example or case study in your mains answer writing. So new study that I have discussed, this came up, and 6 states are showing some different data. What are these states? Maharashtra, Assam, Bihar, Jharkhand, Tamil Nadu and UP. In these states the data was 8 times more on child labor than the NCRB data. And who did this study? So if you can remember Enfold and Civic Data Lab, इनकी स्टडी है और आप इसको कोट कर सकते हैं एग्जाम में. नेक्स्ट इज व्हाट इज NCRB? National Crime Record Bureau. This is an organization that tries to collate data and present the overall data on crime in India, and it's a really good organization and people depend on it. Most of you, if you want to quote anything on crime in India, crimes in India, you will quote NCRB. Any reporter will quote NCRB. Anybody, academician will quote NCRB. So this is very important organization. The full form I have told. It comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. I'll give you a question, very interesting question. So if the NCRB, that is National Crime Record Bureau, this is coming under central government, that is the Home Ministry. But if you remember, law and order comes under state lists. So how come this NCRB is coming in the Home Ministry? That's a good question for you. So find out why it is so, that or let's say on what grounds this Home Ministry in the central government has this National Crime Record Bureau. On what grounds? What legality, let's say legal provisions are there to make this. Moving on, it was constituted in 1986 on the recommendation of the National Police Commission Report 1977. It publishes various data and statistics, as I have discussed already. This is basically very important reports. Different reports are very important coming out of this organization. So we have reports like Crime in India report, Accidental Death and Suicide in India, then Prison Statistics India report. All these reports are generated by NCRB, and it uses a system called CCTNS, that is the centralized system of crime data collection, from which NCRB gets the required data. Now, what is the data that has been quoted in this article? So we, as a rule in DNA, we cover the information appearing in the article, because that is what dynamic part is all about. So the article says that the latest report elaborates how e-courts helped them arrive at the conclusion from the data set of 10,800 child labor cases from 6 states. So this data they collected from e-courts. Then, but NCRB के data के according only 1329 cases were recorded under the child and adolescent labor. So 1300 और 10,800 का डिफरेंस है, 1300 और 10,800 का डिफरेंस है NCRB एंड दिस रिपोर्ट के, इस रिपोर्ट इस केस स्टडी के डेटा में. However, the data collected from e-court showed 9,193, close to 8 times NCRB. So basically this is child labor cases and this data is saying that trials are going on. So don't confuse, remember one of them. So there are two data, don't get confused. One is of trials, one is of trials, the other is of basically cases. So don't get confused, you use one word and say just 8 times. Remember, around 1,300 cases are reported by NCRB and 8 times more are reported by this e-court system. Just remember that, alright. While the NCRB is the primary source of information of crime data in country, it follows the principal offence rule. What is this principal offence rule? That is why the problem is arising. So this rule says that the most heinous crime, meaning maximum punishment crime is counted. So एक FIR दर्ज हुई, उस FIR में बहुत सारे क्राइम लिस्ट हो गए, जितनी धारा इंपॉर्टेंट, जितना इंपॉर्टेंट क्राइम, जितनी धारा लग सकती हैं उतनी धारा लगाई जाती हैं, इस तरीके से प्रोसेस जाती है. ओके, सो बट इन सब में जो सबसे ज़्यादा हीनियस क्राइम होगा या जिसकी सबसे ज़्यादा सजा होगी या पनिशमेंट जिसकी सबसे ज़्यादा होगी, उस क्राइम को ही रिकॉर्ड किया जाएगा. किसके द्वारा? NCRB. इसको क्या प्रिंसिपल बोलते हैं? इसको बोलते हैं यहाँ था प्रिंसिपल ऑफेंस रूल. प्रिंसिपल ऑफेंस रूल के अकॉर्डिंग होता है. दिस इज वाई दिस चाइल्ड labor data is not showing up in the, for example, let's take an example. There is a shop that had, let's say, land dispute. That shop was there, land dispute was there, some other dispute happened, the people involved went to थाने में जाके रिपोर्ट जब लिखाई, when they registered the report, the policeman recorded all the reports, and but later on discovered that there was child labor also. So child labor will be added to that, but the original dispute that will be counted in NCRB will be the land dispute. So child labor will not show up, but the e-court will have trial on child labor, so that will appear in the. So remember, there the data is 8 times by that. So what is this e-court mission? That is important. What is this e-court mission? So e-court mission is basically a pan-India project by Department of Justice. This is a pan-India project under Ministry of Law and Justice, whereby we have all these district courts will have basically a data set, or let's say they will be relaying data. So all district courts will be relaying data and everything will come up as a center. So this is what e-court mission is all about. What you can access on these portals, you can access basically when is your next date, pendency कितना है, केस का डिटेल्स क्या है, हियरिंग की किस स्टेज पे है, ये सारी चीज़ें आप इन पोर्टल्स पर फाइंड कर सकते हैं. ये बेसिकली आप इन शब्दों का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हो. इट इज़ इम्प्रूविंग ट्रांसपेरेंसी, एफिशिएंसी, अकाउंटेबिलिटी, एक्सेसिबिलिटी, ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर बीइंग हैपनिंग. वी हैव अ ग्रिड, नेशनल जुडिशियल डेटा ग्रिड. ऑन दिस ऑल दिस डेटा इज पुट ऑन basically. On this discussion, basically solve this question, try to submit your answers in the comment section below, and I would like to announce that we have been releasing a great PDF for you guys for every day, not a long PDF, only 5-6 pages, including a quiz. We have all these questions in that PDF and the answers will be provided at the bottom of that quiz. So it will be a great help for you guys to summarize, concise, and put in single page, or let's say 2 topics in a page. Every day you have your current affairs notes. So don't worry, that PDF is available. Try to solve this question and the answer will be there in this PDF. Now, the second topic will be on core sector. So core sector growth, the news is that growth slows to 2.9% in February from 7.1%. So there has been a trend, declining trend, or let's say this trend has been there. So the trend, look at this trend. So we have since last year February till this year February, we have this data. It is coming from 7.1 to 2.9, and In recent months, it is seeing a zigzag pattern, and in August, it declined really badly, and the pattern is not consistent. So you all know UPSC may ask a question that okay, recently in past recent quarters or past recent months, the industrial production index has shown consistent growth or consistent decline. They will be not true. So this is one thing. Now, what is this core sector? What is this index of industrial production? We will look at very quickly, very briefly. So, what is the core sector? The core sector is basically a sector where all these industries that are forming the capital, बड़ी बड़ी इंडस्ट्रीज जिसमें बहुत कैपिटल फॉर्मिंग चल रही है, वो सब आती हैं. एग्जाम्पल देख लो. एग्जाम्पल में 8 कोर इंडस्ट्री आती हैं. कितनी आती हैं याद रखना, 8 कोर इंडस्ट्रीज हैं ECI, जिसमें एक है कोल, क्रूड ऑयल, नेचुरल गैस, refinery products, fertilizers, steel, cement and electricity. Remember them. Okay, we will look at their contribution in the industrial production, IIP, index of industrial production. We will see their contribution soon enough. Then we have this IIP, that is called index of industrial production. It is an indicator of the changes in the production volume in the industry. So it notices the changes in the production volume. All right. So released by NSO, National Statistical Office, Ministry of Statistical Program Implementation, MOSP रिलीज करती है इसको NSO के अंडर, NSO के द्वारा. It is a composite indicator. It has both broad-based and case use-based sectors. So broad-based sectors like mining, manufacturing and electricity. Then we have use-based sectors like basic goods, capital goods, intermediate goods. Okay, base year for IIP is 2011-12. Remember this. Then what is the significance of IIP? It is a very important index, very important, because it is used by all the government agencies to basically gauge the industrial production and everything, and then it is also very important to calculate the advanced GDP data. So this is the importance of IIP. Then what is the index of 8 core studies? This is different index. Inside that IIP umbrella, there is this index of 8 core industries. So this core industries, basically core sector basically contributes 40% to the index of industrial production. So we have seen that we have, let's say this is the country's industry. They are saying that core industries are contributing 40%. This core sector is contributing. I have defined core sector. They are basically capital forming sectors of the industry. Now it is prepared by very different organization. It is prepared by Office of the Economic Advisor, OEA, Department of Promotion, DPIIT, basically Department of Promotion of Industries and Internal Trade, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Remember this. This can be important for your prelims. We can see the contribution in IIP of these different sectors of the industry. So from, let's say, ascending order you can see, or descending order you can see that fertilizers are at the bottom, then cement, natural gas, crude oil, coal, steel, refinery, electricity goods, electricity and refinery products. The highest is refinery products, lowest is fertilizers. Highest is refinery products, lower is fertilizers. Crude oil is coming somewhere between 8 or 9%. This trend we have already discussed. All right. Now jump to the practice question. Very important. You should practice a lot of questions. Quickly read this question. Try to answer it. Comment in the comment section, and then we can refer to the PDF for the actual answer. Moving along, last article for today. Today we are finishing at 3 articles, but the last article is very important because Myanmar has seen a devastating earthquake. Many people died. You must have seen those videos of collapsing buildings, and people are basically trapped in those rubbles. And all this has happened at 7.7 Richter scale. So the magnitude of the earthquake was very, very intense, and a lot of damage had happened. And we will read through this news, and also we will see what are earthquake, how they happen. We will revise the NCRB part of earthquake. Very important. So earthquake in Myanmar and Thailand, GS1, geophysical phenomena is the relevance, and about 1,000 people have died, as I have discussed. And most of these fatalities happen in Mandalay. Mandalay is a city in Myanmar, second largest city in Myanmar. Question: what is the capital of Myanmar? What is the capital of Myanmar? So this is the epicenter at the center of Myanmar. The tremors were felt in Thailand also. Now, introduction to earthquake. So earthquakes are literally shaking of earth. Why they happened? They happened because of release of energy. What energy? Energy of the pressure. What is happening basically? You remember that in the lithosphere, what is happening? Rocks are trying to move in different directions, in opposite direction. Rocks are trying to move, but there is a lot of pressure because Earth is very heavy. So there is a lot of pressure. Because of that pressure, the friction and pressure, both of them have a equilibrium. So think it like this: two rocks are there, they are attached to each other, but they try to move, but there is a lot of pressure. So there is a friction also. So friction is basically holding them together. The moment the pressure takes over, the friction is lost and the rocks are moved, suddenly moved. That sudden movement releases a lot of energy. That energy is nothing but earthquake. It comes in terms of waves, different waves. Alright. So basic understanding of earthquake is this, that there is a sudden release of energy. That release of energy creates earthquakes. Alright. Now we will see why earthquakes are so damaging. What happens with earthquake? How they appear, how they come, where do they happen? So as I have already said, in lithosphere it happens around 200 kilometers of the earth layer is called lithosphere. Around how much? 200 kilometers. Now what can be the causes? Movement of tectonic plates. Briefly I will say what are tectonic plates. For those who don't know, for the viewers who don't know, tectonic plates is a theory. Basically it's the understanding of the movement of the surface plates of the earth, and they are moving very slowly, and there are divisions of the earth's surface that is basically moving in different directions, and they are टकराएं, they are आपस में कोलाइड करते हैं, वो कोलाइड करते हैं और डिफरेंट फिनोमेना होते हैं. आप सब लोगों ने जरूर सुना होगा how the Himalayas were created. So you all know that Indian plate is coming upwards and then having a collision with the Eurasian plate, and that collision is creating the Himalayas. So this is nothing but tectonic plates. So because of tectonic plates, earthquake can happen. Then volcanic activity, basically volcanoes are erupting all the time, and that eruption of volcano can lead to a release of energy, and that release of energy can cause an earthquake. Then we have human activities. So if you remember news, back in the day, a dam in Sikkim broke away and that causes earthquake. So big dams on, let's say, in plains also, on mountains also, big dams create a lot of pressure. That pressure leads to again release of energy. So earthquake can happen. So remember, both man-made causes and natural causes can be there for earthquakes. Moving along, different types of boundaries are there in the tectonic plates. No need to remember here, but divergent boundary plates are there, and then we have convergent, then we have transform. These three types of plate movements are there. Examples are there: divergent boundaries, mid-Atlantic ridge is there, and then we have Himalayas for the convergent boundary, and then we have transform boundaries in the San Andreas fault. No need to go into detail, just remember there are three types of boundary movements. Further, there are faults. So as I was discussing, so this is how earthquake happens. So there is a fault. That fault is basically leading to release of energy. So there is a point on which this fault is happening, and energy is getting released. Okay, imagine you are throwing a stone in a river. So that point will be there, and from there waves will appear. This is that point where energy is getting released. We call it focus or hypocenter. We call it hypocenter. From there, the energy is released in all the directions. In all the directions. And the closest to this point on the surface, the closest point to focus on the surface is called epicenter. From here, surface waves are going. The waves go in that direction. Alright. So this is the basic understanding of earthquake waves. Alright. There are three types of faults. And no need to go into detail: normal fault, reverse fault, and strike slip fault. Now the important part is the seismic waves. Listen here carefully, very carefully listen. There are so this release of energy happens in terms of wave. Why? You will ask, why? How come these waves are coming up? So how do you get the energy from the sun? The energy from the sun arrives in terms of electromagnetic wave. That is the light. That is electromagnetic wave. Similarly, the energy of the pressure inside the earth released in the form of earthquake, it is also released in the form of different waves. That is clear. Now, what kind of waves are there? So, scientists have studied that there are different kinds of waves. They have said there are two kinds of waves. One is called body waves. Second, they called surface waves. Body waves are nothing but the waves that are traveling inside the earth. What is the surface wave? The waves that are traveling on the surface. नाम से ही clear है. Now, there are two types of body waves. One is P waves, that is primary waves. Second is S waves. Now, what are P waves? They are basically I would call them the most fascinating waves, most powerful waves, because they can basically travel P for power. Remember P for power. So they are powerful waves. Why they are powerful? They can travel through what? All kinds of state of the matter, liquid, gaseous or solid. The S waves are not, they are secondary waves. They can only travel through solids. This is one difference. P waves are faster also because they are powerful waves. So they are faster also, but S waves are not that fast. They appear later. Surface waves appear the later. मतलब सबसे बाद में surface waves आती हैं, फिर S waves आती हैं, फिर P waves आती हैं. सबसे पहले P waves आ जाती हैं, फिर S waves आती हैं, फिर surface waves आती हैं. Now P waves जो move करती हैं, उनका जो बेसिकली मूव करने का जो डायरेक्शन होता है वही उनकी ऑसिलेशन का डायरेक्शन होता है. बेसिकली दे मूव लाइक दिस. सो दिस इज द डायरेक्शन ऑफ देयर मूवमेंट एंड दे आर ऑसिलेटिंग जस्ट लाइक दिस, ऑलराइट, जस्ट लाइक साउंड वेव्स. बट द एस वेव्स दे मूव at the vertical direction of the, basically they move like this in the vertical direction. Alright, so this is S waves and surface waves. Okay, so it might not be visible to you guys, let me make it here. So this is the movement, this is the direction, that's how P waves move, and that's how surface waves move like this. Alright, so this is the direction of the wave. Alright, so direction of wave के vertical or same direction में. So this is S waves and P waves. Now here comes the interesting part. So if you have an epicenter here or focus here, then you will see that the waves are traveling in all the direction. But at the 105 degree, only till 105 degree from the epicenter, from this epicenter to 105 degree, you will find both waves. Direct both wave, direct, remember direct S wave, direct P waves. But from 105 to 145 you will not find any direct P waves. P waves will be gone. Then you will have again P waves appearing after 145 till the other side of 145. So between these two zones we will call it P wave shadow zones, where no direct P wave is appearing. Indirect will be there, but direct will not be there. But for S waves, the whole area is gone. Now this discovery led to a lot of understanding of the interior of the earth, that I will tell on some other day in the DNA discussion. But as of now you remember that P waves are faster waves, they travel in all the state of the matter, and the shadow zone is there from 105 degree to 145 degree for P waves. But beyond 105 till other side of 105, S waves are not there. Direct, remember direct S waves or P waves. Okay, so surface waves are there when the you know P and S waves appear at the top, they travel on the surface, then they create the surface waves. You remember surface waves are very destructive. Alright, one more thing, speed is also changing based out of the state of the matter. So the matter, if it is denser, then the speed will be higher, and direction is also changing. If they encounter any object in their direction, then they will be reflected and turned back, or let's say change in the direction will happen. Alright, so also remember this image, arrival times is fastest for the P waves, then S wave, then the surface waves. How do we measure? Very quickly, seismograph is there, it draws the waves. As you have seen, this is seismograph reading basically. So seismograph is there, which basically records these waves appearing on the surface. So we have two kinds of measurement. One is we measure the magnitude of the earthquake, and on the other side we measure the intensity of the earthquake. So if you want to measure quickly, then we will choose the magnitude scale, because they are simply recording the waves, the appearance of the waves. They do not factor in the destruction that those waves are causing, but the intensity scale, they factor in the damage caused, but that will take some time. So both scales are very different, and they basically measure different things. In the magnitude scale, you have Richter scale, the classic Richter scale, and then you have moment magnitude scale, MW. This is more accurate for the large earthquakes. So for example, we have 7.7 earthquake in the Myanmar, and we must be measuring on moment magnitude scale. Richter scale is an old scale, and standard is basically moment magnitude scale. Now we have modified Mercalli scale. That Mercalli scale is for basically impact, and it depends on the observation. So this is the measurement of the earthquake. Now there are certain effects that take place. No need to discuss at length. All natural things like landslide, tsunami can happen, liquefaction can happen, then ground shaking, surface rupture can happen because of earthquakes. Liquefaction, remember, the because of these vibrations. If you have seen those videos, if you vibrate sand, that sand can act like a liquid. So that happens when earthquake happens. Vibrations come, and the sand becomes like a liquid, and all the buildings are submerged. So this is called liquefaction. All right. There are certain steps that one should take before, during, and after the earthquake. Very logical. That earthquake resistance infrastructure should be built. We should have emergency preparedness before earthquake. Then during earthquake, we should evacuate. We should drop, cover, and hold. We should do all these things. And then after the earthquake, we should check for injuries and evacuate if necessary. This is important. Also remember, we will cover certain parts of this in disaster management some other day. We will cover it. And based on this discussion, please solve this question, submit your answer in the comment section, and please do not forget to download the notes available at the bottom, and keep following us. All right, we will meet again. Thank you.